Thank you. Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Okay. We're going to have you step out for 5 minutes and then have you right back in here, okay? So you know, folks there, we'll get you right back in. I'm not going to leave the courtroom. I just need to take care of the courtroom, okay? next individual, oh, you can take the stand, Sergeant.
Thank you,
Okay.
Your Honor.
I'm jumping ahead to the next witness
Thank you.
while we're lining them up. The next witness is the ME.
Yes.
I think I gave you the numbers of the, someone, maybe Mr. Calaforz can help out, because last time we had photographs, there were some that were a little different than what we'd marked for ID.
Yes, I think, well, first of all, he's here,
Okay.
which is good.
No, I'm just trying to get ahead of the photograph issue before we,
I believe I've narrowed down or taken out all
okay.
the ones. I did want to ask the court to reconsider two particular
What numbers?
photographs.
What numbers? I'll look at them in the meantime. I'll hand you the ID documents, and you can tell me which ones.
I have them numbered. Yes. So I would ask the court to reconsider 4 and 12.
And just give me the reasons why, so I can look at them over.
Certainly. So 4, it's difficult to tell, but that's not an injury that was depicted in the ones that you've deemed admissible.
All right. So my intention was to make sure that each of the injuries were depicted at least once.
And I think what I think you can see there is an I and there is an H, and they look. I mean, obviously the orientation of the letters is confusing, but the H injury is directly underneath the chin of Miss Avery,
Yep.
and that is not depicted in this.
So what about 12? 12 is the...
And 12, again, that is the one close-up of the very deep penetrating stab wound that the doctor will say is the wound that lacerated Miss Avery's kidney, gallbladder, pancreas. That's the most significant wound.
Okay. All right.
That was it.
So 4 and I've excluded a large number of these photographs. So 4 and 12 you can put in. All right.
Thank you.
Over subject to the objection.
Thank you.
You good to go, Jim? You coming? If Attorney Jellison has any cases you want me to read at lunch on that cooling off period, I'd be interested in seeing them because
I
the ones
have
I've, the ones,
a jury instructions memo that we could hand up.
do you have it done?
Yeah, I probably would need to kind of hand change some words.
Just speak up just a little bit.
Sorry, I probably would need to change a couple words in it by hand, but I could hand it
Okay, just as soon as you can, all right?
up. Sure.
We'll have some time, we'll have some time to go. Get both of you get your jury instructions in.
Okay.
By the end of today.
Oh,
Because we're moving
no
toward
problem.
the end of the evidence at some point in time. If not today, then tomorrow.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a 5-minute break in all of recorded history?
Maybe seated.
Thank you for your patience, Mr. Green, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning again, sir.
Morning, sir.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jurors and spell your last name?
My name is Michael Mcnally. Last name is spelled MC, capital N-A-L-L-Y.
Are you employed, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
By whom?
The Massachusetts State Police. I'm currently a sergeant with the Massachusetts State Police.
How long have you been a sergeant, sir?
For going on 3 years now. It will be 3 years in July.
How long have you been a trooper in general, total?
I've worked for the Mass State Police for 13 years now.
All right. And what is your current duty assignment?
Currently, I'm the executive officer of the Commonwealth Critical Infrastructure Program. We are housed within the Criminal Information Section. It is an information and intelligence sharing entity within the State Police.
And going back to 2019, did you have a different role in the State Police?
I did. In 2019, I was an investigator with the State Police Detective Unit in Hampden County.
And as part of what were your general job responsibilities as a detective in that role?
The function that I gravitated towards was homicide investigation, but we would investigate any major crime, but the majority of my time was taken up with homicide investigation.
And would you say it's common to assist other area towns in this county with those investigations?
Yes.
And did you, in fact, assist Westfield Police with an investigation in January of 2019?
That is correct. There was a homicide in Westfield, of which the State Police was the unit of jurisdiction, and then we did work with Westfield on that case, yes.
All right. And I know you kind of had several roles in this investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
One of those roles was, were you present at the booking process of Mr. Scanlon?
Yes, I was.
And during the booking process, is it common for photographs to be taken?
Yes, it is.
And you were there while that occurred?
I was.
All right. Approach the witness? Yes. Sergeant, I'm just going to show you about a dozen or so images. Can you just look through those to yourself? When you have a second, look them. You recognize those images, sir?
I do, yes.
What do you recognize them to be?
Blake Scanlon in the Westfield Police Department booking room during the photos that were taken during the booking process.
Are those fair and accurate representations of the way that he appeared when you saw him on that day?
Yes.
I would move to offer these as the next exhibits, please, Your Honor.
No objection.
Maybe one or two.
Exhibits 51 through 62.
And sir, while the clerk marks those, let me ask you this. Is there a rationale or a purpose for taking booking photographs?
Yes, there is, and that is to memorialize the evidence, to memorialize the body. Injuries will heal, blood can be washed away, evidence can be destroyed. So yes, that is the purpose of videoing or taking digital photographs of any scene or any individual involved.
Thank you. Sergeant, I'm displaying now Exhibit 51. Can you see that image?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that image to be?
Blake Scanlon in with some bandages around his wrists, left and right hands.
Depicting or displaying Exhibit 53. Can you tell me what is depicted in that image?
Again, Blake Scanlon with those scrubs lifted up, tattoo over his heart with the name Darla.
Displaying Exhibit 56, can you tell us what is depicted in this image?
Yes, again, Blake Scanlon, just with his hands focused on, moved out to the sides. I've seen our crime scene services personnel do that when they're taking photos. Move your hands away from your body so we can get a better image of what exactly that is. But same individual, just a different perspective.
This is Exhibit 57. What are we looking at there?
That appears to be Blake Scanlon's right hand, and the injuries on his hand, perhaps to his knuckles, and then some blood in the fingernail area.
This is Exhibit 59. Can you describe generally where you're looking at in that particular image?
The palm of Blake Scanlon's right hand is shown, his wrist there bandaged up, and then some blood or an injury to those calluses on his right hand, on his lower right hand, his ring finger and pinky.
This is number 60. Just displaying that briefly. Again, what are we looking at here?
The image of the left hand, left wrist taped up with some medical bandages, and then what the left palm looked like during that booking process. Dried blood and or injuries to that hand.
This is Exhibit 61. And again, what are we looking at here?
The back of Blake Scanlon's calves and bare feet.
And number 62. Just briefly, what are we looking at here?
And the front of Blake Scanlon's legs, the front of his calves, his knees, and then his bare feet, with some red-brown substance believed to be blood on the right foot at least, and perhaps the left big toe. I think I could see some red-brown staining there too.
Now, you also performed another role in this investigation. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Did you have an opportunity to examine a cellular telephone?
I did, yes.
For the record, I am going to show Sergeant Mcnally Exhibit 36. If you could just take a look inside of that envelope, let me know if you recognize that item.
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize that item to be?
Alexis Avery's, I believe the color is called rose gold colored iPhone. It has some sparkly rose gold colored case on it.
Thank you. And did you examine this phone?
I did, yes.
Now, let me ask you, let me get back to my spot. What sort of training did you have at that time, specifically regarding forensic cellular extractions? Is that a thing?
It is a thing, and it's a big thing now. It was not a big thing when I first came into the detective unit in 2014, but that has increased exponentially the importance of digital evidence and forensically analyzing that digital evidence. So at the time, I was a Cellbrite certified physical analyst, which trains you ultimately to extract data from the cellular phone. And I would liken that, my general age group recalls when we would have to bring our phone into our phone service provider, such as Verizon or whoever it might have been. They would take your phone in the back when you're getting a new one, they would plug it into a system and bring all of your contacts onto your new phone. So that's essentially what Cellbrite is. However, it is more forensically sound in that it will provide you with a document that cannot be edited, but the report from the phone will indicate mapping data, GPS data, cell phone data, phone calls, text messages, internet searches from that same platform. So Cellbrite is the company that has really cornered the marketplace for law enforcement purposes, and I was a Cellbrite certified physical analyst at the time.
And did you have to be trained on how to use that program?
Yes.
And just briefly describe what that training entailed.
The training entails, as I described with that Verizon store analogy, it is a plug-and-play system, but there's many intricacies to this plug-and-play system. It is ultimately determining the type of phone, the type of extraction cord that can be plugged into that phone, and then it could potentially be complicated if the phone is damaged or there is a locking device, passcode on the phone. So there are ways to get around that. Cellbrite, that training would entail selecting the correct device, selecting the correct antenna or cord that you could then plug it into the computer and download it, and potential ways to bypass our security locks on our phones.
Have you performed these sorts of cellular extractions in the past?
Yes, I have.
Could you estimate perhaps how many times?
I would say hundreds.
And did you perform an extraction on that particular phone?
I did, yes.
I'm going to show you a disc, and just let me know if you recognize that item.
I do, yes.
And how do you recognize specifically that item?
So it is labeled as Alexis Avery report, and our report number 2019-108, our office code, my office code at the time, -13 is the report number, and then my initials are on the back of this. As I was preparing for this trial, I did review this item, and these are my initials on the back, the date and time that I reviewed it, and that was March 11th, 2024 at 14:54 hours, so that's 2:54 p.m.
Thank you. May I have this marked for identification, please?
Yes, I'd be on the can.
Thank you. And Sergeant, when you perform an extraction on a phone, is there some sort of report or printout that can be generated?
Yes.
Did that happen in this particular case?
Yes, it did.
Do you know approximately how big that report would be in total?
Total pages, I believe it was 11,000 plus pages, if I'm not mistaken. I know they can be huge. I've seen 26,000 reports. I believe this specific one was 11,000.
So that's just everything from the phone.
It is. And just to clarify, everything from that type of download for that phone, not necessarily everything from the phone, but for this specific report, that was everything from that report, because there are different capabilities with different phones. So just to clarify, everything from that type of download, and there's at least three different types of downloads that you can get. Some are more voluminous than others.
All right, Sergeant, I'm going to show you the first 2 pages of that lengthy document.
Yes.
Can you just take a minute to review those? You recognize what's depicted in those first 2 pages of that report?
I do, yes.
What is that?
So this gives the date and time that I did the report, which was January 25th, 2019. At the time that I did it, 10:23 a.m., it appears. In UTC time, it lists my name at the time, Trooper Michael T. McNally, the location that I did it, our office in Springfield, the report number, my department, the type of phone, and that's all on the first page. And then the second page is a table of contents of sorts, and it will tell you specifically, it lists call logs, chats, contacts, device notifications, text messages, MMS messages, phone history, and so forth on the second page, table of contents, if you will.
And is it fair to say that this document, this huge document,
Yes.
is searchable?
Yes, it is.
So you could, if you wanted to go to call log, for instance, you could navigate to that.
Yes, sir.
And that's just a summary of the report and what you did and whose phone it was.
Yes, sir.
I would offer these 2 pages as the Collins next exhibit.
63.
No objection.
So next, I want to go to call log. And it seems silly, but can you tell us what a call log is?
Yes, it would be a ordered number of the calls that were completed, made from the device, incoming and outgoing, and or missed from the device. So it will provide them in a list format of which direction the call is coming from or to, and when it was missed. A date and time is also associated with that, so it helps us order them. Cellbrite does that in the report for you automatically. It will list them in chronological order or reverse chronological order.
And in this particular case, you already mentioned this, I think, briefly, but the date and times on this particular call log are in a unique format. Is that correct?
I would say if you're not familiar with the types of reports, it could appear to be unique, but it is in UTC, Universal Coordinated Time. And I also understand that acronym does not seem to make sense, Universal Coordinated Time, UTC, but that is, if you'd like me to explain what that is.
No, just if you could explain, if you could explain what, not the acronym is, but what is UTC time and how does that correlate to our general understanding?
So it is a universal time that all other time zones are determined from. So we will always have a UTC time as opposed to a, where we are now, Eastern Standard Time versus a Central Time versus a West Coast time in our country. There is a universal time that then an equation is applied to that, and we could subtract or add hours to it, and that will determine our local time zone.
All right. And in this case, do you recall what the specific UTC designation was?
Yes, it was -5 hours at this point, so that is in standard, that is in the time zone that it was. It was -5 on that report.
So whatever UTC time we are looking at,
Correct.
we would have to subtract 5 hours from to get our local time affiliated.
Local time, January of 2019, that would be a -5, yes.
And could you explain, again, some may or may not be familiar with this, but all these times are in military time, correct?
Correct, yes.
So, for instance, just so we can be on the same page here, if there was a call to 911 on 1/13/2019 at 16:02 UTC +0, what does that mean? How do we understand that as a local time frame?
So 16:02 is 4:02 p.m. Military time is that 24-hour time cycle where you would add 12 to your current time, and that will give you your military time, add 12 hours to it. And in this situation, 16:02 would be 4:02 p.m.
And then you subtract 5 to get to the local time.
Correct.
So fair to say it would be 11:02 a.m.
Yes, and 16 minus 5, 11:02, yes.
Sergeant, I'm going to show you now 3 documents. And again, just take a look at them and let me know if you recognize them.
Yes, sir, I do.
What do you recognize those to generally depict?
This is the call log, pages 3, 4, and 5. So in subsequent order, these would be right behind that initial report document with my information when I did the extraction, and then the table of contents, if you will, on the second page, and then it gets right into a call log, which is page 3, 4, and 5. So this is pages 3, 4, and 5 of that call log.
And is there, what is the last call on the call log?
The last call on the call log, and this is in reverse chronological order, is January 13th, 2019 at 16:33 hours. And I could convert that to local time
If you could, please.
Yes, so that would be 11:33 a.m. on January 13th, 2019.
And what is, if we go back to the earliest in time, chronologically backward, call log, I believe it's 42 on page 5. What do we have there?
Yes, so that is January 10th, 2019 at 19:30 in military time, 19:30 minus 5. That would be, 19:30 hours, 2:30 p.m. on January 10th, 2019.
And so is it fair to say that the call log that you're holding, those 3 pages, that includes all of the incoming and outgoing phone calls from that device during that time period?
That's correct.
All right, choose to offer these 3 pages as the next exhibit.
64.
I think if I display this, it'll be a little bit easier for people to understand. All right, so now displaying exhibit 64. It's not ready. Do we make that focus or zoom in? Yeah, okay. That's too much. A little out. Yeah. Okay, so for instance, we already discussed number 2 right here. Just describe and just tell us what outgoing means. It seems kind of obvious, but you're the expert. What does outgoing mean?
Outgoing call, a phone call from that phone to that number, 911 in this situation. So that phone made an outgoing call, dialed 911, and hit send to that number.
At this time.
Correct.
Which we know is 11:02 a.m.
Listed as 16:02 minus 5, 11:02 a.m.
And what about missed? What does missed mean?
Missed means a phone call was placed to that hand device and the call was not answered.
What about outgoing?
And an outgoing call would be someone taking action with that phone, dialing a number or going to the contacts and pressing send on that phone, an outgoing phone call from that phone.
And speaking of contacts, you see that at some points in red here, there's actually names associated with those. Is that fair to say they're from a contact list?
In my experience, that would be the contact list within the phone, yes.
I'm going to show you 3 more pages, and just tell me if you recognize what those 3 pages are. I'm going to hand you back Exhibit 64 as well.
Okay. I do believe these are the same documents.
And is there any difference between Exhibit 64 and the 3 pages that you're currently holding?
I don't see a difference. I'm seeing the same. Okay, I do see. Yes. Okay, yes.
And what is the difference, if any?
Yes, so it is the same call log. and this also depicts whether the call was deleted or not. And it provides another column on this second sheet that you gave me, aside from the first one that I looked at, with whether it was deleted or not, and in blue, it tells you the date and time that it was deleted.
And so actually, so the blue, do these times correlate to these times, but just converted?
That's exactly what they are, yes.
All right. So that's an edited document with the times, the math is essentially done, so that the math is done on that.
And it's done for you, correct. And it's in Eastern Standard Time, the deleted time and date. Yes.
And I just want to be clear that this is, let me strike that. I'll come back to that. I'm going to show you one-page document. So you can navigate to search history through this program, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. And I'm going to show you what's, it's page 2632. Just tell me if you recognize what that is.
I do, yes.
And what is that?
It lists a number of searched items from the phone, so these would be internet search items, and it'll even tell you how they were searched, the source of the search, and in this situation it was Chrome or Gmail were the search, and then the value that it gives you in the column right next to where you're searching for this item online is what is typed into the phone to be searched.
And is that a fair copy of that page of this overall cellular extraction?
Yes, it is.
I would offer this as the Commonwealth's next exhibit, please. On. And just for the record, with the court's permission, I'm going to display page 2670 of O for IDO. Just so we have an understanding of what we're looking at. And you can see here there's a lot of information contained in this printout. Is that correct, Sergeant?
I'm sorry, that question again was?
Just walk me through what these columns mean, if you know.
Yes, so the number of message in what I just referred to, I'm not sure how many thousands there were for text messages, that would be on the far left-hand side, whether it was sent or received, sent or into the inbox would be received, and then 2, which number we can see, number 58 there, the top one that I can see on my screen, 58 from that phone number associated with that contact, that's saved as Blake. The next column is the date and time, 1/11/2019 at 14:28 hours. So that is minus 5 hours, and that would be 2:28 p.m. minus 5 hours for that Eastern Standard Time, whether the message was read or not, and then the status is read, we see in the next column, and then for that top line, number 58 here, did you take the weed stuff, is the message that was in the inbox, in the inbox for Alexis Avery's phone.
All right, and let's do it again with this last message here, 66.
Number 66, the inbox, so that was a message received from Blake at that phone number at that date and time, 1/10/2019. It was read 1/10/2019. Approximately 14 minutes later, because we could see the column just prior to that is 21:46. When it was read, 2200, that's 10 p.m., minus 5 hours again if we're looking for the accurate time. The status is read, and then it reads, even though we're breaking up, why can't we still love each other and this smoothly and nicely, babe?
Thank you. May I have one moment, please, Your Honor? Thank you, Sergeant. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Ross?
Was that last formally offered?
No, it has not been entered. It's old for ID, but it was offered, and we were going to redact pieces of it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I hadn't missed the...
Right, no, it'll be, as soon as we redact parts of it, it'll be admitted into evidence. All right? So here you go, Bill. Members of the jury, when I use the word redacted, it simply means that certain portions of a document or exhibit will be whited out or not evident. It's been ruled inadmissible. So in that fashion, we can get you the exhibit. You're not to speculate as to what that information might be or could have been. Whatever's been redacted is not evidence, and you're to confine yourselves to just the evidence and not to any speculation. Okay? All right.
Good afternoon, Trooper.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Just a couple of questions for you. You, after police responded to the scene on White Street, you went...
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we just have the mic adjusted over? Thank you.
Sorry. You went to the hospital where Mr. Scanlon was taken after he was taken from the apartment, correct?
That's correct. I went to Noble Hospital in Westfield.
And while you were there, you took some photographs of Mr. Scanlon in the hospital room. Is that correct?
I don't recall taking photographs.
Let me, just 1 second. Do you recognize these?
I do, yes.
What do these pictures depict?
That is Blake Scanlon in his hospital bed at Noble Hospital, and I very well could have taken these photos. I don't recall taking them.
Okay. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of Mr. Scanlon's appearance in hospital that day?
That is how I remember him in the hospital that day. Yes, it is.
I'd offer these as a single exhibit, these three
No objection.
photos.
Without objection. Let's do I like them separate, so let's do separate.
Okay.
66, 67, and 68.
Yeah, just briefly. And just briefly, Trooper, Mr. Scanlon was taken directly to the hospital before he was booked. Is that correct?
He was, I'm sorry, he was taken, could you say that question again, please?
So, from the apartment, he was taken by ambulance to the hospital, correct?
I believe he was taken directly there. Yes, I'm not sure of anything in the intervening time, but I met up with him at the hospital. I went directly to the hospital. That's where I first saw Blake Scanlon.
And he was taken to the hospital because he needed care for wounds. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And is it fair, these are a depiction, this is a photograph of the wounds he was treated for?
That is some of them, yes, ma'am. That's the right hand, right arm.
Okay. And this is another shot
I'm sorry, that was his left, I believe. Yes, correct.
left, yes.
Left arm, yes.
I think this is not the one I showed previously. And this is just another shot of it. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Left arm, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he was treated for these wounds and he was released. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So the bandages in the other photos that you identified earlier, those are from these wounds. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
further, Mr. Reed?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Dr. Welton.